Welcome back to SwitchCorner with our Bioshock video now live over on the channel. I wanted to take a look at perhaps the most demanding of the collections 2K released today. This one, it's the Xcom 2 collection. I'm now roughly through probably the first 6 or 7 hours of this one, and we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about and a few potentially concerning issues to address. So with that, if you are new here, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and let's get started. So Xcom 2 is a tactical turn-based strategy title, and I think it's fair to say it's probably one of the very best available. The story here, it's very much a continuation of the first entry. In one, you were defending the Earth from an alien invasion. In the second, you've lost that battle. The takeover was a success. The Council Nations, they succumbed to the aliens' demands, and now you are very much fighting back in a rebellion to regain control. The story is, I've got to say, deep. It's very much woven into every step of action you take, always giving you a reason to what and why you are in a particular location. Throw in then as well a ton of supporting characters. You know, there's some that you'll see pretty much constantly, and then there's some that very much remain in mystery. Overall though, it's one hell of a ride. With this collection then, it is worth knowing you're basically getting two games, Xcom 2 and Xcom 2 War of the Chosen, a huge expansion in itself. Combined for the main story, you're looking at roughly 70 hours, and completionists, well over 100. Xcom 2 does not disappoint on the content front. To round out the package then as well, we're getting 4 additional, I'd say minor DLCs. These, they get a few extra missions, but it's mainly cosmetics and weapons. In-store size for this one, whether digital or physical, it is huge, and it's demanding somewhere in the region of 25 gig. Now when it comes to the gameplay, turn-based strategy, this is never an easy thing to pull off on consoles, and I gotta say, when it comes to controls, Xcom 2, it's one of the better ones, transitioning from, I think it's fair to say, the superior keyboard and mouse setup to controller. They've made the complicated relatively easy to understand, and they also give enough guidance on screen that you always know how to, activate something or achieve something. Here though, at a very basic level, Xcom 2 works like this. You use the left joystick for movement, the D-pad to rotate the camera, the right trigger to kick in an action, so think like attack or place a shield, and then you can even use the up and down on the D-pad to change your vertical movement, so think like you want to jump on the roof of a building. Now obviously I've got to say that's very much the beginning of controls, but I also think that's enough to get you started, and I gotta say I'm impressed. I never felt lost. It guided me at a good pace, and while there's a ton going on now, I've advanced enough that I feel confident with these controls. Sure, I still make the occasional mistake, and the camera will at times go a little bit haywire, but that's the beauty of the tactical strategy genre. You can afford mistakes and take your time with everything happening. It's not like forcing you to rush. My only request controls wise, let's look at getting some touchscreen action on the go here too. The missions though, they've been great fun, whether it's taking down enemies, rescuing civilians, or just infiltrating a location. Each of them brought a nice amount of variety to the table. It also, as I said, supported the story and drove that challenge up just enough each step of the way that I always felt like it was kind of pushing me to the level of my skill at that time. Now with that though, those worried about difficulty too, just know we do get multiple difficulty options from the easiest to the hardest, so beginners, you can very much jump into this one and expect an experience that is going to match your skill level. Outside of the missions then, there's still a whole lot happening, which all occurs from the Avenger. It's a converted alien supply craft that's home to the Xcom team. This is where Xcom really shows its teeth with depth and just introduces like base and resource management to a certain extent alongside base building. Expect though to be tackling everything from like determining your next research program, so like maybe weapons or armor, choosing what mission to head to next, analyzing and studying local anomalies, and then of course recruiting for and managing your squad. So here think like everything from loadout and equipment to just even their names. While these more superficial touches like names are completely optional, it's a nice touch, and I'm always pro more options than less. Gameplay wise, I had my doubts like most people out there, I'd guess, but I will say it absolutely works, and that kind of blows my mind. I've got Xcom 2 in the palm of my hands. With that said though, if you are going to invest into this one, you've got to be willing to make some compromises on the performance front. If we start with the graphics, there's definitely a sense of seriously dialed back implementation. In missions, it's not too bad, and I think it's fair to say more than enough for what we need. Textures, sure, they're a little low, but overall I wouldn't say it's, game changing. It's the Avenger though and the base that takes the biggest hit. Looking at the barracks, for example, this banner is obviously unreadable and the textures here are just super low. Thankfully though, I will say when it comes to the base, it's all accompanied with text menus. This will at least tell you what you're looking at or where you need to go next. Because the resolution sees such a serious drop when docked, it can be a little difficult to identify what is happening in each section of the ship from this kind of distance. I think though what's going to upset most people though, it's the frame rate. It's aiming for 30 but acting like a drunk, stumbling his way there. Constantly frame rates drop, they freeze throughout, whether I was in mission, cutscenes or just the Avenger itself. These frame rate dips are along for the ride and pretty much constant, so you will always notice them. The question here though is it that big of a deal when it's a tactical strategy title? Sure, no doubt it would have been nice to have seen a locked 30, but this is a problem honestly across the board, even with the Xbox One and PS4 versions. Every time it froze, I will say I felt a little disappointment. Then a little part of my brain reminded me I'm playing Xcom 2 Handheld, the most demanding of the 3 releases by 2K today, and that kind of actually made me feel okay about it. Now when it comes to Handheld, you might be worried the text could be too small, the image even worse, and I can tell you now, don't be. This actually looks a lot better Handheld if anything. The resolution obviously feels almost improved, the text is the perfect size, and I actually spent a large chunk of the time I've been playing this one in Handheld. I think if you're a Switch Lite player or a Handheld player, you've got a lot to look forward to here. Overall, this version of Xcom, it's for sure rough around the edges, there's no doubt about that. Some muddy visuals, constant frame rate drops, but the core gameplay and experience is very much there. I also want to be fair and say occasionally it does look stunning and it will make you sit up and take note. For me though, at first I was worried. Now I'm 6 to 7 hours in, I can't wait to get back into the action, and I will make the compromise because the portability absolutely makes this one worth it. With that though, thank you all so much for watching. As always, it is very much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you're new here for deals, reviews and previews just like this one. 2,000 of you in the last month have been kind enough to do that. Just insane to me, so yeah, again, thank you so much. We're growing a great community here and it's awesome to see everyone in the comments, so join me, ask me any questions you want answered about XCOM, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks everyone.